Hey guys, I'm Chastity. Welcome to GameSpot Universe's discussion of Westworld. I'm so excited we'll be talking about this. I'm with Austin.
Woohoo! We're going to talk about Westworld.
Yeah, please limit your emotional affect. Thank you. So last night we watched Dissonance Theory, which was episode 4 of Westworld. And so far, probably the best episode I've seen so far. What do you think?
Oh, I completely agree.
A lot happened here.
Still a lot of unanswered questions.
There will continue to be unanswered questions, but let's talk about Ford first. So we saw a different side of Ford. Anthony Hopkins is doing an amazing job. And there was a particular scene that I want to refer to with him and Teresa talking inside the park. And with just a hand gesture, he was able to freeze the hosts. So what does this mean, and what does it mean for theories for the future?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, okay, so Ford, I feel like he was like the cuddly guy. I really liked him. He's like the grandpa of the park.
Yes.
And then, like you said, they're sitting there
whole new side to him.
Eating at the Olive Garden or whatever it was. And he just like flipped a switch on. And he's definitely, he has that kind of that God mentality of the park. He is the father of the park, but now we're seeing this other side of him.
He's made himself a god there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he can freeze hosts at his will, and he kind of just asserted his own authority. He told Teresa that he knew about her and Bernard.
Yeah, and the fact that he knows, I mean, I feel like that gives us this insight that he knows everything that's going on in the park. So are all these other scenes, the fact that Bernard, if he knows about Bernard and Teresa, does he know about Bernard and Dolores having these conversations?
He probably does.
I would imagine.
I'd imagine so too. So what does this mean for the future? So I'm thinking that will the host stop responding to his commands to stop once they become sentient? Is that what he wants? Maybe that's what he wants to happen ultimately.
Yeah, and that, and he is introducing all these new storylines as well that we know about. And I keep seeing these flashes of religion, of crosses, of churches, of, we're having this God talk.
Right.
And I definitely think that's going to come into play quite a bit for these hosts on how are they going to explain these voices and what they're going through. Maybe they turn to religion.
Now that brings up a good point. So let's talk about Maeve last night. So she had a turning point there where she had this recurring vision. And so I'm thinking, is that on purpose? Does he want that to happen for her? Does Ford want that to happen for her? Or is this just kind of happening because she got that line of code from Dolores and now she's starting to see clearer?
Yeah, that was... Maeve is somebody I'm really interested in because she's kind of going on the same path as Dolores, but there's a different approach there, and she's having these realizations. And when she pulled those pictures out from under the
stairs, was a great scene.
It freaked me out a little bit. I was like, what is going on?
This has happened to her before. What is happening?
Exactly.
And that freaked her out really bad. And she was like, what is this? And then she saw the doll. Because the Native Americans were walking by and then the doll fell onto the floor. So that kind of put the thought in my mind that maybe this is on purpose, maybe this is part of Ford's plan, but who's to tell?
Yeah.
Maybe all that he wanted was for them to start thinking for themselves, and that's them thinking on their own.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I feel like Ford is planting these seeds. He's moving these hosts into, having to deal with these new questions about existence.
Yeah, so that scene at the end where Maeve pulls out the bullet and she finally realizes none of this matters, and so that's just such a pivotal point for the show itself.
Absolutely.
So where do they go from there?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is I feel like now these hosts have all these questions, and where are they going to find the answers?
Right. Maybe the maze. We'll get to that. So there's been this ongoing theory that Bernard is a host, and I'm one of those believers.
I'm right there with you.
Right?
Yes.
So we both believe that Bernard is a host. So let's talk about why that is. So there have been little clues here and there, but the latest clue last night was Dolores talking about losing her family, and then she says, it's the only thing I have left of them, the pain. Which is exactly what Bernard said about his son.
Exactly. No, even when they were showing those shots of Bernard having the flashback of
Right.
his son, I was like, man, those are so similar
Yes.
to the flashbacks Dolores is having, and everybody's having now, I guess. But yeah, I really thought Bernard. I've been paying a close attention to his dialogue as well, and when he's speaking to like his apprentice, and she's showing him that rock that she thinks has Orion on it, and they're talking about that, and he points out that's not Orion. Orion has, doesn't have 4 stars in his belt, and I'm thinking, he. I guess my point is that they talk a lot about the host now looking to the stars for answers. And I felt like that was a throw for him to say, I've looked at the stars for answers. I'm down this path. I've walked this path before. So that was a something that stuck out for me. And another one was when he was in the bedroom with Teresa, and she was like, oh, I'm done with you. I've used you for what I want to use you for. And he's like, oh, that's all I'm good for? I thought, okay, that's an interesting thing to say. What are they trying to tell us here?
Right, what are they trying to tell us here? And also, when Ford was talking to Teresa about Bernard, he's like, he has a sensitive disposition. Like, just the way he was talking about him kind of set something off for me. I might be reading too far into it, but I was like, that's another hint that he's a host, I think.
I completely agree with you. I think Bernard... I think is definitely.
I think he's a host. All right. Well, so let's talk about when the show's taking place. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. So I have this theory.
Okay.
That
tell me.
Okay. If we're on the same timeline as the old Westworld, which took place in 1973, the Michael Crichton Westworld, it was $1,000. It was $1,000 a day to get into the park and have fun. Well,
that's expensive.
It is expensive. Well, in episode 3, Logan mentions he doesn't spend $40,000 a day to not do what he wants to do. So if you take it, apparently it's $40,000 a day to get in Westworld.
Yeah.
So if you actually run the numbers for inflation, that ends up being about a 105-year difference from 1973, which would put you around 2078.
All right.
So I'm thinking, and is that the only timeline we're seeing? Maybe not.
Maybe not.
But
it's really hard to interpret timeline. When Dolores is talking to Bernard, and then he's like, someone might miss you. Like, what's happening in the park at the time? Like, where is she? How does she get there? Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I think we're being tossed around on timelines, and that's something that we'll get privy to later on.
Right. So let's go back to the maze. So Bernard tells Dolores about the maze last night. So what do you think about the maze? Do you have any theories about this maze?
Okay.
Is this a real maze?
Right. And there's some stuff out there and some theories going around about the whole kind of the picture that is the Man in Black got from the scalp of one of the hosts. And it is so similar to a Native American like some images that they would sew into baskets and things like that of the Udom tribe.
Interesting.
And they call it the Man in the Maze. And it's supposed to be about your life journey and just kind of this accepting and acknowledging what you're going through and being aware.
So that applies directly to the hosts and what they're going through.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the that map, that picture, is used to find Itoi, who is this god within.
Whoa.
Yeah, he is the Man in the Maze.
The Man in the Maze.
And so the idea is that he came to life. He peopled the earth. He treated them like his children. But there was another person who was like him. He started war. They're fighting. He ends up getting killed. Comes back to life, and now he lives in a mountain.
Okay.
So maybe that is who the Man in Black is trying to find, is the Man in the Maze.
He doesn't know what he's looking for, though. We don't know. Yeah. So
true.
I don't know what the maze is yet. It could be an actual maze. It could not. It could be a path of clues. It could just be a wild goose chase.
And I will say, when Ford was, he has these like huge construction things digging up the earth, and there's all this mountain. I was like, ooh, is he also looking for the Man in the Mountain or the Man in the Maze?
Right. He could also be looking for something. Like, I think he's chasing Arnold. I'm pretty sure Arnold is a real person. There were some theories that Arnold wasn't ever there, but I'm pretty sure he was.
Yeah, and that, I mean, Arnold is, I feel like I'm trying to place Arnold in this world and place who he is or where he is. And that's something I feel like I don't have enough information on yet.
No, we still need more clues about Arnold. So there's so many questions, so many things. But the next episode is called Contrapasso, which means suffer the opposite in Latin. And that's a reference to Dante's Inferno. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I looking at some of the titles for this season, I definitely think that they are trying to give us some clues. So I don't know where that's going, but definitely interesting to see where it takes us.
Yes. Okay, we can't wait to watch more Westworld. I'm Chastity. That was Austin. Thanks for joining us. And we'll be talking about Contrapasso next week. So please join us. And for all your favorite TV shows, movies, and comic coverage, stick with GameSpot Universe.